I'm very excited that we have got the fabulous Fiona Ives doing a great one-to-one, top and tailing one-to-one webinar for us tonight. So Fiona did an absolutely fantastic slot at the Kickstart. And I spoke to Fiona a few weeks ago and asked her if she'd reenact it for us on a webinar, which she very, very kindly agreed to do. So I'm not going to steal Fiona's thunder anymore other than say, look at the screen. Fiona has achieved absolutely everything on our marketing plan, and she's a great friend and colleague on the Profit Share group. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Fiona.
Thank you, Sally. Not quite everything. I'm nearly there for Chairman's bonus, but that should be done very, very soon. But thank you so much for allowing me to be on your webinar. It's a great honour and a great privilege. Some of you might have seen the slot that I did at the Kickstart about the one-to-one. And for those of you who didn't, the webinar's a great way for us all to share it even further. The idea for tonight is you take from it what suits you. This is not prescriptive. It might not suit some of you, but this is just what I'm doing. If I give you a little bit of background about myself, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, we're actually, it was my partner who was approached about the business 3.5 years ago. And he was approached by an orthopaedic consultant, a client of Simon's. Simon didn't think it was for him, so he suggested that I take a look at it. And to cut a very long story short, having tried the products and fallen in love with them, I decided I'd give this business a go to earn an extra £250 a month. However, I did that very, very quickly, and along the way accidentally signed up my first 2 team members, which got me to supervisor. And it was at that point I went to a success day and for the first time actually heard the business model. I hadn't heard it before then. And I listened to the presentation at the success day and was absolutely blown away by this network marketing model. I've not heard of it before, and I decided to become a student, and for the last 3 years really that's what I've been doing, is learning about this business. And as a consequence it overtook my teaching salary at about 18 months to 2 years, and I gave up teaching a year ago now, so I've been working this business full time. And what I make really clear to people is that although I'm working the business full-time now, when I first started, I've only been doing that for the last year, I built the vast majority of my business while I was juggling it alongside the teaching, the 4 children, the 2 dogs, the cat, my choir, which I'm passionate about. So I really did fit it into the nooks and crannies of my life. And the first thing we've all got to decide is, what is it that's going to make us do something like forever? What's going to make us come out of our comfort zone? And for me it was very, very much my why. Just going to see if I can put the screen on there. This is my why, this lovely man on the screen there, Simon, or those who know him well, we all call him Has. He's a lovely man. We've been together about 13 years now, and I've had the privilege of being able to give up teaching. He would still have to carry on working until he was 69 if we don't do something about it. So he's my motivation. We want to get him out of work in the next 3 years, and I'm prepared to work very, very hard to make sure that happens. And one of the things I really, really love doing is the one-to-one. Why? Well, firstly, if you actually get good at making the connected calls and inviting people to take a look at this business opportunity, and they say yes to your connected call, they're open-minded people. And if you can sit down with somebody for half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever, and just let go of the outcome, just enjoy the process of actually doing a one-to-one with them, finding out about them, the chances are you're going to come across far more relaxed. So there are 4 parts to the one-to-one. The first part is that you need to sell yourself. They reckon that within 7 seconds people have made up their mind about you. Do they like you? Do they don't they? The next part of the one-to-one is to find out their why. Why would they possibly want to do this business alongside everything else that they're doing? Then the third part of the one-to-one is to provide the solution, and that's the actual one-to-one itself. And the 4th part is to learn how to close properly. So I'm going to talk about the first part, the second part, the topping and tailing, finding their why, selling yourself, and the close. But I'm also this evening going to show you the new Group Dynamics 1-to-1. I've got it all uploaded, but I'm not going to concentrate on every single slide, but I just want to show you which slides I stop at, and I'll explain why I stop at them as I go through. So, selling yourself. When you walk into a place, I always suggest that people choose somewhere neutral to meet their prospects. It could be a hotel, or it could be a Costa Coffee. Try and choose somewhere that there aren't too many disruptions. I, generally speaking, don't invite them to my home, just because we do have animals, and the animals can be quite disruptive, as can the children. I tend not to like to go to their home, because they will have their own interruptions going on in their life. So it's much better to choose somewhere that is neutral to you both. I always try and arrive early, before then, so that I choose where we're going to sit, that I can see who's coming in the room, who's going out of the room, that I can choose how I'm going to position the seats. Generally speaking, I sit slightly opposite them, and I'll always, whether they're cold market or warm market, I'll always get them a drink. As I say, the first 7 seconds, is about you creating some sort of instant rapport. So look at them, smile at them, look them in the eye, and ask them some questions. Just ask them how they're getting on. If it's a cold market person, just thank them for giving up the time to come and see you. If it's a warm market person, do exactly the same, and just reassure them that what you're going to talk about, there might be something in it for them, only they can decide. I think there's nothing worse than selling to somebody. This isn't a selling exercise. This is creating that rapport, because, for me, very genuinely, it doesn't matter to me whether they sign up or not. What I'm there for is to build a relationship, because if it's not for them, what I want at the end is for them to feel very confident about referring me on to somebody else who they might know. So that's the most important part, right in that first 7 seconds. The next part, this is actually taken from the 1-to-1. It's as if time and money were no object. I personally have found this slide quite difficult to get people to answer to. Some people use, if you won the lottery, what would you do with it, to find out their why. And so a few years ago, 2 years ago, I found this CD, Questions Are the Answers by Alan Pease. And I listened to it. And what's very, very strange is that about 30 years ago, I was actually at a conference in Miami, and Alan Pease was the guest speaker. Nothing whatsoever to do with Forever. I just find it quite bizarre how life comes full circle, and now I'm recommending something that he has written and that he's recorded. I personally prefer the audio CD, because that's the way I learn, but it is actually written down. And in it, he talks about how people sometimes get so excited that they sell something to somebody, and then they get so excited they buy it back. And he has a lovely measured way about the way he talks to people and how he coaches information out from them. And he says to find out their why Forever, although he doesn't talk about Forever, that's the way I'm going to link it up, why people might be interested in Forever. He asks them a set of questions. So he shows them a piece of paper with these priorities on them: extra freedom, financial freedom, retirement, helping others, etc. And he'll say to them, what's your number one priority? Now, the slides that you can see on the screen, I've actually made these, and I attached them to my 1-to-1. I personally do a paper 1-to-1. That's only because my iPad isn't very good. I don't have a problem with anybody using an iPad, or it's up to you, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But I've actually printed these off, and I have them in my actual 1-to-1 folder. So I'll start off, and I'll just say, I'll thank them very much for coming, and I'll just say, look, before we start, I need to find a little bit more out about you, right? And whether or not there could possibly be a fit between what you want and what I do. So I'll say to them, what's your number one priority? And then look down the list, and I'll give them a second or so to answer. And generally speaking, it's usually extra income, but not always. I've had personal development, I've had meeting new people, financial freedom quite often comes. Sometimes they'll say it's two. They'll choose two things. Oh, it's extra freedom, extra income and meeting new people. And if it's both of them, what I'll say is, let's just choose one for the moment and I'll come back to the other one in a little bit later. And generally speaking, I want to tie them down to just one area. So the next question is, why is that one? Why is that one important? So if they said to me, oh, now let me have a look at this, extra income, and I'll say, why that one? Because I don't have enough money at the end of the month. I don't go on to the next question number 3 because I have not found out enough about them at that point there. So if they said extra income, why that one? Because I don't have enough money at the end of the month, I would say something like enough money for, or enough money meaning, and I'd let them start to open up and talk about themselves. And you can't just listen to Alan Please once. I listened to it, I must have listened to it at least 20 or 30 times. I quite often will just put that in the car when I'm driving anywhere. Because when I first listened to it, he talked about nodding your head, and if all of you listening start nodding your head now, you feel quite silly doing it. But when you're actually doing it opposite somebody and you actually are listening to what they're saying, and you learn to nod at the appropriate time, it's magical, because they really do start to open up with you and tell you what's going on in their lives. And for most of us, I would suggest that we're not often asked what's important to us, what is our priority. And as a facilitator of the one-to-one, I feel really strongly that what we've got to do is listen and not talk. And little key phrases like income meaning, or expand, explain, is the question 2 that's the most important in this list of questions here. Only when I've got them really talking do I go on to, is that important to you and why? Because I really, really want to, in my own head I'm listening and I'm thinking, right, where would that fit in a one-to-one? Could I bring that back in there? Because I want to use their words when I'm giving them the solution to their problem. So, if I give you a couple of examples, I remember doing this. When I first started doing this, I actually did it again with a team member who had already signed up because I wanted to practice. And we were sitting in our garden and I went through this and she said extra income. And extra income for, and it turned out that she actually had a lease car. And she was worried about how she was going to pay for the lease when the car when the lease was finished. And at that point then, I thought, car plan. And that was the appropriate time to talk about the earned incentive programme. So really, what's your number 1 priority? Get them to choose just one. Don't worry if they choose 2, just try and tie it into one. So if they said extra income but then also meeting new people, I can bring that one in later on when we talk about some parts in the one-to-one. But it's tying them down to one and then learning to listen to what they say. And don't just take the first sentence that they say, get them to expand upon it. After that, then I just say, is that important to you, having an extra income? Yes. So what would the consequences of not having it be? And give them time to think. Really, really give them time to think. And the answer will be very short there. When he says, does that worry you and why? I say, right, well, I'm about to show you something that may be a solution to your problems. Are you happy for me to continue now? And throughout the one-to-one, as I'm going through it, I'm always asking their permission to go to the next stage, so that they don't feel like they are being sold to. So, then, once I've found their why, and that can take 10-15 minutes, the actual one-to-one I can pretty much rattle through in 10 minutes, but that first bit is really, really important. The report, 7 seconds, that next section, 5-10 minutes. But then I say, right, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to wear 2 hats. This might be for you, in which case that is fantastic. But it might not be for you, and that's okay too. What I'll be asking you at the end is, do you know anyone who? And the next slide that I'm going to Joe, you came from a one-to-one that was, I think, 3 one-to-ones ago. It was the one-to-one that I was shown when I first started this business, this slide. And it doesn't matter that you haven't got the slide. Just look at the words and listen to how I would do it. So, I say, what I like to do is wear 2 hats. This might be for you, only you can decide. However, if it's not, what I'll be doing is at the end of this presentation, I'll be asking you, do you know anyone who? And the sort of people I would like to offer this opportunity to, either to grow your business or to offer them hope and opportunity, is anyone who doesn't have a pension. Do you know anyone who doesn't have a pension? And if it's a young person, they haven't even thought about pensions yet. So I quote this fact. I say that, a 22-year-old on minimum wage, working for 40 years, can be expected to earn £19 a week. Could you survive on £19 a week? Do you know anyone who's 22, who hasn't even thought about their pension? They're the sort of person I'd like to speak to, either to grow your business or to offer them this opportunity. If it's an older person, I might talk about my situation in that I'm a second relationship couple. When my partner's divorced, his pension was halved. Now I'll use that as an example. Do you know anyone whose pension's been halved? The state pension is £107 a week. Could you live on £107 a week? Do you know anyone who could live on £107 a week? Do you know anyone who'd like a little bit more in retirement? And then I'll say, do you know anyone who's debt? And at that point, usually people say, yes, me. I don't want them thinking about themselves here. What I'm doing with this slide is asking them to think about people who might be interested in joining their business. Do you know anyone who's got job insecurity? And that can be, from my listening to them at the beginning, quite often they've got their own job insecurities and they might work alongside other people. So again, I might be able to bring something in they've said at the beginning. Do you know anyone working longer and longer hours? And then I usually add on the end, usually for less pay, and they're nodding their head at this time, and I'm nodding my head with them. We're getting that rapport going. And then I finish off, do you know anyone who's stressed? And again, they're nodding their head. And usually thinking about themselves. And I say, right, okay, do you know anyone else? So I'm all the time trying to get them back to thinking about the wider picture, people who we can bring for their business. So we've had that 7-second rapport. We've had that 5 to 10 minutes of finding their why, bottoming their why, and then this slide. Now, you don't have, this slide isn't available anymore, but you can just take those words down: pension, debt, job insecurity, longer working hours, stress. You don't actually need a visual representation in front of you. You could do that quite easily without that. And then we go on to the actual one-to-one. I'll say, well, what I'm about to show you, if it's okay with you still to listen, is a solution to your problem, possibly. Only you can decide. And again, I'm all the time saying, only you can decide. And then I say, is it okay to go through the presentation now? Yes. And they're nodding their head, because I'm nodding my head as well. And this is the first slide from the group dynamics one-to-one. If you've got the company one-to-one, it's slightly different. It's got John Curtis on, who is a lovely man. What I like about this one is this is a young person. If you don't know who this young person is, a lovely lady in the business called Sarah Topham, who was a lawyer and specialised in agricultural law, and who has given up her law practice to work this business because of the freedom and the quality of life it gives her. And so I've personally found a great benefit from having a young person. I'm 50, for those of you who don't know me, but having a young person on the slide there and somebody I know. And what I suggest you do when you're going through the one-to-one is find out who the people are in the pictures if you possibly can. And not tell them every single story, but have a little snippet to say about the people within the one-to-one presenter. Then this is a company one about finding their why. And again, if it's on a paper one, I actually take it out. If it's on an online one, I don't actually use it. But if you're doing it on a PowerPoint, it is there. So you could perhaps just briefly say, if time and money were no object, well, I know what your why is. Your why is that you want to have enough money to help you in retirement, or whatever it might be, and then move on to the next one. So then I start to go through the one-to-one. When I'm actually doing the one-to-one, I don't know if you can visualise this, but I'm facing person, and I've actually got the one-to-one facing them, so I can't read, it's not facing me. I'm not sitting side by side, I want to look at them. And I personally don't want to look at the one-to-one. I know it so well now I don't need to read it. If you're new to this business and you don't feel that confident about doing it, my advice is get confident. Practice with anyone. You know, when I coach my team, you know, in the first instance, to offer the business to people who they know and love, but they think aren't interested. You know, people who know and love them back. You never know, once they hear it, they might be interested, but equally you need to practice. And whether you practice on your own, whether you practice with your cat, your dog, your children, whether, get so good that you actually don't need to look at the one-to-one. You don't need to read every word. So this is Rex Moore. He started the company 36 years ago. It's got a turnover of $2.6 billion. You know, just pick out key points then on the slide there. Here in the UK, it was founded in 1978, and look, the turnover is £50 million. A lot of money, but we're only scratching the surface. I say here, this is a visual diagram. I'm not digital. I love the fact that this is a visual diagram showing how we've grown over the last 36 years to get that £2.6 billion growth. Why have we got the growth? Well, the outstanding product range, which I'll tell you about in a minute. The rapidly growing global marketplace. At this point here, I'll stop. I'll say, do you know anyone who is living elsewhere in the world? I'll then also say, are you on Facebook? Do you have many friends on Facebook? And I'll get some more information about them there that will help me show them how they could possibly build a team if it's for them eventually. And if it's not, I'm thinking right there of possible referrals. And then we've got the proven and exceptional business model. All I say there, this has been going for 36 years. There's no need to change anything. It's all laid out very simply for you. And on this slide, what I say here, an outstanding product range based on aloe vera. What I'm saying is half of the $2.6 billion turnover is from the health drinks. Why do people drink it? Well, it's a natural tonic. Who do you know is tired and run down? I don't really go through too much about there, but just pick something there that you feel confident saying. But what I do point out is at the bottom. I'll say, not tested on animals, multinational company, so the products have got to be multicultural. And then I then mention is all the products have got a full 60-day money-back guarantee. Isn't that fantastic? You can try the products, and if you're not entirely happy, you can get all your money back. And I'm nodding, isn't that fantastic? And I'm just giving my head a little gentle nod there. And then, yes, that is fantastic, Fiona. No. Why our aloe vera? It's herbicide, pesticide free. But what's unique about our company, I always say, it's like, aloe's like a banana. When you peel it, it oxidizes in the air. But unique to this company is we've got a stabilisation process that allows our aloe to be stabilised cold. Isn't that amazing? And again, a little nod of the head. I mentioned the advisory board very briefly and how lucky we are to have them. And then the superior product range. Talk about the fact that the drinks are half of the company's turnover. But then at this point I stop. And I ask them to look down the list that of the markets that we're involved in, personal care, skincare. And I ask them then if there's any areas that particularly appeal to them or have an interest to them. And it's quite amazing, again, if you stop and give them a second to read them themselves, what comes out. You know, I've had people tell me that their boyfriends or partners or husbands are physiotherapists or involved in sports or sports teams, or they're interested in horses or whatever. And all the time in my head I'm building up a picture that will help me help them grow their business or possibly get referrals if it's not for them. The next two slides are unique to the group dynamics one-to-one. These are not in the company one-to-one, and I personally absolutely love this slide. I use the contents of this slide for the last few years without actually realising that it would look like this. But this is what I say. How are we different? Well, a traditional manufacturer, take Walker's Crisp for example. They come out the factory for about 2p, and I'm pointing to the right-hand side of the screen as you're looking at it. They come out the factory for about 2p, and if you're lucky, you can buy them for a pound on the motorway service station. That 98p is shared out between the woman who packs the boxes, the man who drives the forklift, the lady who drives the lorry, the woman who serves at the garage, and Gary Lineker. And I get a little smile out from there. With Forever, the products come out of the company, and then we're paid very well to do all the things that traditional manufacturers pay lots of people to do. Isn't that cool? And again, they're nodding their head. Oh yeah, I can see that now. And this second slide, the distribution chain, on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm talking about a traditional business. So if you imagine you're a shop, your Marks and Spencers or wherever, you've got that retail service, you're relying on customers coming in and customers coming out. But with team marketing, the whole premise is a lot of people doing a little bit. So if each one of those little circles on there is a distributor and they're all part of your network, you will be paid on the volume of products that's come through your business. And yet you're only looking after your own customers. Isn't that fantastic? And again, you're asking the question, a little gentle nod of your head, and they're agreeing with you. You know, the customers win, the company wins, the distributors win. It's such a fair and ethical system is network marketing. So how do we distribute our products? Well, and then I put my hand over where it says shop. This is a word of mouth business. You know, you will not see our products on point of sale. We do something called team marketing. And this is where I tell them about the cost. When I first started in this business, and I would do the one-to-one, and I never mentioned the price, and then I'd take them to a business presentation, and I would sit there holding my breath, waiting for somebody to say £199.75. Not because I think that's a lot of money, but because I felt a bit disingenuous that my guest didn't know before I brought them along. So as I'm going through this, I say, low investment. What the company have done is they've put together a range of our top-selling products with all business literature that you need to start your own business for £199.75. I don't know anywhere else you can start a business for that amount of money. Do you? And again, they're saying they're agreeing with you because, you know, the way you move your head. I quite often talk about, give them one or two little examples if it's relevant. You know, I've got a lady in my business who was going to spend £30,000 on a franchise with Specsavers. And I asked her how seriously she would have taken that investment. And she said, very. And I said, well, that's what you have to do with this business. You have to take it very seriously, even though it's only £199.75. Or another example I might give is, you know, I've got a hairdresser on my team who's spent £700 on a pair of scissors. And you can start this business for £199.75. Isn't that amazing? So find your own little story that you're getting them to agree that this is a fantastic opportunity. And I go to say you don't have to hold stock, you don't have to have staff. It's terribly flexible, you know. If I'm talking to somebody who is interested in beauty therapy or the skincare, that sort of thing, I talk about Clarins. If somebody wants to join Clarins, they have to spend £5,000 and they have to hold stock. So if it's appropriate, I might bring in that example there as well. But I keep it short, I get their agreement as I'm going through it. So the benefits of team marketing, well, people trust personal recommendation, and depending on why the person's in front of me, I will say, you're only here because so-and-so recommended you come, or you're only here because you know and trust me. That's how this business works. Can you see that? And then again, they'll agree. Access to international markets, well, I will always have mentioned international earlier on in this and found out who they know globally and the fact that it's a home-based business. And that is as much as I say on that slide. After that, I just say the incentives that are mentioned here I'll talk about in a few moments and just quickly move on. So team marketing. What we do is we show you how to get 20 to 30 regular customers. We'll show and coach you how to do that. And that will give you an income of between £150 to £300. However, you want a little bit more, we'll show and coach you how to find 5 key people like you who are open-minded. You know, praise them for the fact that they are there and open-minded. And we'll show and coach them how to find their own 20 to 30 customers. And if you do that, this is the sort of income that you can expect. So retailing, typically between £150 to £300 a month. Would that help you achieve what it is? And it might well be that one of their whys is, I don't know, having their nails done every month, or it might be paying off a debt, a visa bill, or paying off a car. Would that help you achieve what it is you want to achieve? And they're saying yes, they're agreeing, yes it is. However, if their why is bigger, then I say to team building, and I say the only bit of jargon I'm going to give you is with the team building. Once you, sorry, no, I jumped ahead a little bit. So team building, if you build a team, you've got £500 to £2,000 a month. Would that help you achieve what it is you want to achieve? And again, I specifically talk about what that is. Whatever their why is at the beginning, I bring it in there. I don't mention 20 customers times 25. I'm not on the slide long enough to mention it. I don't do two in front, 2 is 4 in front. I don't mention any of that. I'm just looking at the big figures, 150 to £300, or 500 to £2,000 a month. I've got their eye contact, I'm talking about them. Then I say, you know, there's something more as well. You know, the only bit of jargon I'm going to give you is when you build up a team of distributors, you have what we call a manager business. And you know, the company don't stop you making just one manager business. It's up to you. If you want to, you can help as many people get to the position of manager as possible. And then you can earn between £2,000 and £20,000 a month. Is that something that would help you? And again, I go back to their why. You know, I don't stop on that why bit, so I've got a small term why and a big term, long-term why. And then I go on to this one, you know, and then this company is so generous, they keep all the profits themselves, but what Rexcom does is he keeps a percentage of it to hand out distributors who've done a certain volume of work. And here in the UK, the Global Rally this year, cheques were handed out between $4,000 and $1 million. How cool is that? Again, getting their agreement. The end incentive programme, I say, I got that within 18 months. If you're new to the business and you haven't achieved these incentives, use somebody else's stories. Don't lie. Don't make it up. Find somebody you know in the business who you like and respect and use their story. I think if you lie, you'll get caught out, and that's not what this model is about. So find somebody, you know, you can use me. You know, a lady I knew in the business achieved the Earned Incentive Programme in 18 months. And this is a cash amount paid into her bank account every month for 3 years. It's allowed her to buy her first new car when she's 50, and that's what actually happened with me. I was able to buy my first car this year, first brand new car. So use somebody else's story. Global travel incentives. You know, the company pay you to go around the world, and again, if you haven't achieved your own incentive yet, choose somebody else. There's been plenty of people who've gone to Lake Tahoe. Make it your mission to go and speak to somebody who's gone to Lake Tahoe so you can use a little nugget of information. The fact that it's Cancun and Singapore next year. When I was first starting doing this, before I achieved it, I used to say, I haven't achieved it yet, but I'm going to. Here to help you, well, I've already mentioned about the investors in people and training, and then I talk about the marketing tools, very, very briefly, high quality, and I say the training is locally, regionally, nationally, very, very quickly on that slide. So it sounds too good to be true. Well, you know, if you buy the box and you do nothing with it, nothing will happen. However, if you can allocate some time that you perhaps spend doing, watching television or, you know, sitting around doing nothing, time that you can use constructively and learn the skills necessary, you could have a successful business. And then at this point, this is the close of it now, and this is so important. I'll say to them, right, you're going to be in one of 3 places now. You're either going to be a no, in which case that is absolutely fine. All I'll say to you is, hopefully now that we've been through this, you'll know and trust me that I'm not pushing, I'm not forcing anything, but you'll perhaps think back to that slide when I asked you at the beginning of the presentation, do you know anyone who? And now that you know and trust me, would you refer them to me? If you don't want them to grow your own business, perhaps you would refer them to me so that I can offer them this opportunity. And again, I'm planting the seed that they could have their own ready-made team of people. Or you might be a maybe, in which case you want some questions answered, that's absolutely fine. Or you're a yes, in which case you can see how working alongside Forever will help you achieve that cash-rich, debt-free lifestyle you want, or whatever their why was. You know, working alongside Forever can help you achieve school fees for your children. They'll help you achieve a holiday every month, or whatever it is they've told you. And then that's how I finish off. So, do you see how working alongside Forever can help you achieve? And then be quiet. And if they say yes, just say, right, well, let's get the paperwork out of the way and get your box with you within the next 48 hours. And then we need to sit down for planning so I can recoup your investment as soon as I possibly can. If they do go back to the maybe, that's absolutely fine. Make sure you know when the next BP is. You really, really want to be getting them to a BP within the next 48 hours of doing the one-to-one. Trust me, I've lost a lot of people by not being quick enough on that one, and experience has now taught me we need to get them to the BP fairly quickly. And if they are no, don't worry. They've not said no to you. And if you've treated them with respect, if you've listened to them, if you accept no is no, but just not for now, then you can have a relationship with that person. You can build up some rapport, some more. You know, you can add them to your Facebook page. Let them sit and watch what you're doing. And as you get successful, who knows? Or what I also will do, I profile everybody who I do a one-to-one with. And I might just say, would it be okay to get back in touch with you in 6 months? Or 3 months, or whatever you actually agree is a suitable amount of time. So that's how I do a one-to-one. I hope you found that useful. I should have said at the beginning, if anyone has got any questions, please type them out and let me know. But I'm quite happy to stay on the line and take any questions from anyone. Sally, was that all right for you?
Hi Fiona, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for giving up your time on a Sunday evening. Really appreciate that.
You're more than welcome. Just thinking, do people type in questionnaires on your webinars?
Yeah. We've got some thank yous. Jo said thank you. Claire Cotton May said thank you. Jen said you're super.
I'll pay you later.
So you're getting lots of thank yous. I don't think we've got any actual questions. Oh, where can we download? Where can we download the Group Dynamics One-to-One? I will put a link on the Group Dynamics page as soon as this webinar's finished. Oh wow! Feel the love, Fiona.
Say that again.
I said, feel the love. You're getting loads of messages.
Oh, send them to me, will you? I need the love.
Okay, I don't think anybody's stuck on anything, so I will upload the link to the Group Dynamics presentation, and then everybody's got that.
Well, if any do come, then just send them to me.
Yep, I will do. All right, thank you very much, Fiona.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, good night, everybody.